Hello, everyone, and welcome to your Money on Purpose podcast. I am your host, Dawnette Palmore, and today my guest and I will be discussing about living your life on purpose. This is my guest, Naomi Geidel, who is on a mission to support and encourage creatives to take action on their ideas. She helps purpose-driven creatives find clarity on their next steps and uncover their brilliance so they can show up with confidence and share their voice. You can find Naomi wandering the side streets of Bangkok, Thailand, where she finds great inspiration for living an intentional, creative, and adventurous life. Naomi, thank you so much for being here today and taking the time out of your day to share your story and your wisdom with us. And welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for a conversation.
I am excited too. This is going to be fun. So, before we get into living a life on purpose, let's talk a little bit about your money story and maybe a couple of things you've learned along the way.
Yeah, so my money story has had a lot of ups and downs. As a creative, I have more of this YOLO kind of thinking, right? You only
Yeah,
live once, or you have all
yeah.
these ideas, so you have to gather materials to, create. And so I think I've always struggled with money in that I want to live life to the full. So taking the opportunities that are in front of me, but also knowing I do need to save and I do want to live debt free. Like that was always the goal. But it wasn't always didn't always play out like that.
Right.
So
As
yeah,
life does to us.
yeah. And so I was always in classes trying to learn more about money, always trying to do better. But then also living in the day to day is, also a struggle. And so that's kind
Mhm.
of been the ups and downs of it, that tension that I tend to live in. But as I get older, I've learned that I do need to focus, and that means sacrifice in some areas. I am single and have no kids, so that also kind of adjusts the picture of it because it's only me and I don't have a partner to work on this together with. Because I always think, well, if I had a partner that was better at the money mindset thing or just how to invest, because that's not where my mind goes, would that story look different? Who knows? But so
Right.
I'm always trying to learn on my own and just trying to better my financial future and just even the experiences that I have to take part in every day. So,
Right. Yes.
yeah.
And so um I wanted to hit on something you said about would it be better? And so I always think about when we have somebody, sometimes it's not, sometimes it is, right? Because we are who we are. Uh, we're creatives for a reason. We're creative. We just have to also master those mundane things that we don't really care about, right? Like, not that we don't care about it, but we don't really want to deal with it because, it's not fun.
Yeah. Looking at numbers is not what I want to spend my time doing, but I'm learning that I need to a little bit.
I totally get that. Believe me, even as a money coach, I don't want to look at my numbers all day long either.
Hmm.
But yeah, so that's awesome. I love that. And so what are some things maybe you learned along the way that helping you to become better with your money?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing that's helped me is just have it as a focus, right? That it's
Mm,
not like 10 down the line of things that I'm kind of spending my time and energy on. But since I do like to do check ins, like once a month, okay, this is what I'm working on, having it, as a top three. Having some long term goals that I'm working on helps. I always love piggy banks, right? That kind
yeah,
of creative thing. So I like to find creative piggy banks that I can put some money into, or at least have that as a symbol of
I love
you
it.
are saving. Um, and I think in better seasons, I've had somebody that is also on the same journey that we can, you know, talk together and hold each other accountable so that it's not just me doing this
Yeah.
alone. Because I can totally give in to myself. So
Right?
yeah.
Funny how that works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, accountability is huge, I think, and we all need
Mhm.
it in some aspect of our lives or another. And I love that. So you're getting creative on how can I make this fun for me? Getting piggy banks. And so do you use like physical piggy banks or are they virtual piggy banks? Do you like color in the thermometer?
Yeah. So it's looked different. I've done the thermometer kind of things. So if I had something specific to save towards, I do have a physical one here that I found. It's a cute little house. Thailand has piggy banks all over that are creative. And so I was like, I can decorate that a little bit,
Yeah.
for the future of what that looks like. Yeah. So it's looked different in different seasons. And I think just the visual helps me stay focused on it, and so that's what I try to do.
That's great, right? We always got to have something in front of us to remind us. And do you decorate it with maybe what it is you're saving for or for that goal?
Yeah, yeah, so, like, it's not just a thermometer, it might be an airplane, like, if I have a trip coming up,
Ah,
or right now I feel like I'm going to be going through another transition, like a move, so then I'm thinking about what would that look like, what could represent that, and how am I gonna stay focused on that big transitional move, so
that's awesome. I love that. Um,
mhm,
I think it's important to get creative, to do or implement something that's going to make us want to do it or make us
yeah,
more likely to do it. And I love that you found that. That's so awesome. And I think that goes with our theme, right? Um, we all want to live this life of purpose, and you're doing your money on purpose, and you found a way to do that. And I think that's fantastic. And sometimes I think, with our living a life of purpose, we kind of get caught up in our day-to-day living. Um, and it kind of goes to the back of our mind or we put it on the burner and we don't really ever bring it up again. And sometimes we just kind of feel empty almost. So Naomi, you help people to find their purpose and then also to live on purpose. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
yeah. So many times we think that purpose is this huge thing. It's so like, I don't know, so that gets a lot of people caught up. But I think our purpose is closer than we think, right?
Mm.
So it's just going to take some time and energy to just really focus in on what it is. And I like to look at what is your experience? What do you like to do? What are your strengths? Like, and kind of bring all those together to find your purpose. And because, like, maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, I've always been in education. Never wanted to be in education, but kind of fell into it and loved it for what it provided, like that creative outlet. I loved working with kids. But then there came a time, right, when I was burnt out and I had to do that soul searching work of really figuring out what am I moving into next? And so I really got into the purpose part, and it really came down for me to support and encourage. I can do that in education, I can do that
Mm.
in many different avenues. So I think if that's one word or two words, that really focus in, and that can be displayed in so many arenas. And so I think finding your purpose just keeps you moving forward with more clarity and confidence, because I might look to my left and to my right and wish I could do that. But if that's not my purpose, then it's just going to be energy draining instead of energy giving. And so I think that's why I'm so set on just finding your purpose so that you're in alignment, you're enjoying life, and you're not just kind of trying to swim upstream.
Right, right. And I loved that you put it into words. Like you have these two words, like these two life words, and you can apply that anywhere.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think sometimes we also think, okay, my purpose, like, oh, I have to do this forever. Like, this is what I'm going to do my entire life, the rest of my life. And we don't leave room for things to change. And like, my purpose for 20 years was raising my children. Actually, it was 30 years because I'm going to have a 30-year-old. So, was raising my children. But they're all adults now.
Mhm.
Now it's changing. My my focus is changing. It's now helping people, empowering women with their money. And I think we also need to leave room for that too. But I love that you put your purpose into words and now you can kind of apply that anywhere.
Mhm.
That's really cool. So is that something you take people through is finding their words maybe?
I do, because I just think those are like those touchstones that we need. So, like, if you look back on your life and as, a mother and raising these kids and what you're doing now, I'm sure you can see some similar words that it's the same thing, just a
Mm,
different arena, like you've
right.
always had it in you to do this work. It just looks different, to the people you're serving. And so I think that's why I like the words, because they can really hone you in and be like, no, I'm here to support. How can I support? That looks different for different seasons, but that's still who I am and what my purpose is.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And it still keeps you in focus
Hmm.
and maybe you won't get as lost
Yeah.
in life, or go off on those squirrels. You have something to measure up against. Same thing, when I talk to people about their money, it's like, what is their why? What is their purpose with their money? What do they want to do with it? And when we have that out in front of us, and we make our choices in alignment with that, and we tend to lose a little bit less focus um, when we're moving through life. So that's really cool. So do you ask questions in to get to those words?
Yeah, there's a lot of different exercises that I take my clients through to really hone in, because we might think that we want to go into something because it's like hip and cool or the new thing. But until we really focus in on what our kind of strengths are and what our experience is, then it may not be a good fit. And so that's why I really
Mm,
like to get to the purpose before we build out those other areas. Because as creatives, if we are building on the ideas that we've been given, but we're not in alignment with what that's going to look like, you're going to get really frustrated when things aren't going as planned or as thought, because that's part of the journey, right? But if we can always bring it back to our purpose, then we can move forward with strength from that. And so, yeah, so it looks like a lot of self reflection,
mm,
looking back on what parts of my life I have enjoyed, if that's a certain job or a part of a job that we're picking away from. Um, yeah, so it's just a whole process of really looking. And I do use like different personality kind of assessments, because I think that can help us, even having them going and asking their friends what their friends see in them. Because
mm.
sometimes our brilliance is so close to us, we don't see it. So we need
Right,
that outside person, kind of bringing light to that. And then we kind of use all of that to come up with those 1, 2, 3 words that will help us move forward, our touchstones, so that we can move forward with confidence, because we're staying in our lane. We're not
right, right,
creatives. We have lots of squirrel ideas, but at least we know that we're in our lane and we can bring those into what we're doing.
right.
So,
So, where would we start with something like this? I mean, even let's start there. Where would we start with something like this? Um, Go ahead.
yeah. Yeah. It's, I feel like, right, there's different situations in life where we are feeling uncomfortable, like we're moving away from something or to something, right? And so sometimes people get a stirring, like, I'm just not happy in life. I'm not, being challenged. I'm not feeling fulfilled. And so I think just that awareness in your body is where you start. Like,
Mm,
I don't want to feel like this, or I want to feel like this, right? So we're in that space. And then once you have that awareness, then you can start leaning in and asking questions, or working with a coach like me that will take you through this process to get that clarity that you want and desire for your life. I think many of us desire something, but we're so comfortable that we're not willing to do the work. And so you also need to be in a space and place where you are ready to do that work, because it is work and it's hard
yeah.
sometimes to really. look deeper at why you've done what you've done or why you do what you do. And so, um, yeah, so that's kind of getting people ready. And then once we're in the process, I find that it's very life giving and you
Mm.
can see so many more possibilities for your future that maybe you didn't see before. And that's part of the work that I do as a coach is just help you see those possibilities. And then from those, we can talk through, okay, why do you think this one would work? Why do you think this one won't work? And I think some of it is trial and error, but I think this prep work helps kind of take out some of those,
Yeah.
that time, you
Cut some
know,
of that
to
stuff out.
yeah. So it just kind of helps that. So, and
Right.
then we just
And
get going on it.
yeah, yeah. And I think asking questions, I love that it's like asking questions and sometimes we don't ask the right questions of ourselves, right? But when we have an outside source asking us the questions, we really get to think about it. And I feel like we've kind of lost that deep thinking that we're capable of and that we should be doing. And really, we live in such a fast paced life and we're just like going from one thing to the next instead of stopping and saying, why am I doing that? What am I here to do? What do I want to do? And asking those deep questions that you ask of ourselves. So I love that you do that and you dig in, because maybe we just didn't even know till somebody asked us the right question.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And
So-
it is getting quiet, right? Then to get loud. And so you have to give yourself permission to take that time just to be still, just to be with yourself, to uncover what's next in your life. Because we always are going through different transitions. And if we're only locked into, no, I spent so much time and energy and investment on this one career or this one thing, well, we expand and grow. And so we have
right.
to allow ourselves to dig into that and see what's next. And I don't think it's ever too late to make those changes.
Yeah, so that was going to be my next
Oh,
question. So let's say we're in the middle of our life, we're in the middle of our, you know, career. Can we change it?
we can. And I know it can be scary. And I know it's like, what does this look like? How is this going to unfold? And so that's where I think as creatives, we have this unique ability to test and experiment, right? We already
Mm,
have that in us. Like we see the masterpiece, but it's going to take some time with different mediums and different just modalities that we're like, okay, we have to play. And so that's what this season is. It's giving yourself permission to play, to experiment, to try different things. And so that's one thing that I feel strongly about. A lot of the messaging out there with change or just like if people are wanting to build their business, like that it's going to happen overnight or in 30 days or 60 days. That's not the truth,
right.
of trying something new. And that is really where I also come in and walk with my clients is that day to day building something new. So, giving yourself permission to go through that transitional phase. It might be longer than you thought it would be because if you're starting over, it's going to take time. Like I think back to I went to college for 4 years, plus it took me 2 or 3 more years to feel more confident in the classroom because I actually had kids in front of me. It wasn't just theory. And that's the same thing that's going to happen in this next career transition, whatever you're moving into. It's going to take time. And so giving yourself the grace to be a beginner again,
Mm,
um, but also learning from people that have gone before so you can kind of shorten those kind of
right.
lessons. Um,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, I think it's kind of just holding space for the
Mm,
change that you want to do.
right, right.
Mhm.
And we get so comfortable in the uncomfortable
Mhm.
that we don't move out of it because for some reason it becomes comfortable. And there's a saying that says, our success is right outside our comfort zone. Um, and I think something you also said was also having grace, giving ourselves grace and allowing um, us to feel whatever it is we're going to feel, but also being uncomfortable. And I think that we really need to do that a little bit more often, because that's where we change and we grow, right? In the
Hmm.
uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And some, like, you might make one change and then another thing changes, right? Like it is kind of a ripple effect. And so you um, have to stay open and curious to what those things might be, and know that it's only for your good that these things are happening, right?
Right.
And just like, yeah, making different money choices. Oh, that might be a sacrifice for a while,
Yeah.
but we know what we're going towards. And so that's why I think that purpose, knowing your why helps you get to the end goal.
Yeah. Most definitely. And um, so what does or how can we live a life on purpose? What does that kind of mean and look like?
Yeah, I think that's knowing your purpose, setting your intentions. Like, this is the kind of life I want to lead, because part of my work too is also getting clear on your values so
Mm,
that you can align your decisions to that. Makes it really easy for decision making if you're always unsure, once you're clear on your values. Living your life on purpose, I think, includes service to others. I don't I've been trying to rack my brain, like, what job would that not entail, like,
yeah.
not of service to others. So I think, also thinking outside of yourself, knowing that somebody is waiting for what you have to offer.
Mm,
Um, and so more community based, you know, kind of
right.
thinking. Um, and I think, just like, for me, adventure is one of my values, right? And
Mm,
so I always just encourage people. Yes, it is comfortable to be in your space, but the world expands so much when you do get out of your comfort zone, and it will take you to places personally, not just seeing different things, but just you as a person. It'll take you to new places that you've never been, and in a good way.
yeah.
So,
And you know what? That sounds exciting to me. Like
mhm,
places I've never been. That sounds really exciting and something I want to do. And I think thinking of it as an adventure, like
mhm,
it's an adventure, it's a journey. We get to explore and see what's going to happen, and get outside that box that we tend to put ourselves in, and not just peek outside of it, but actually step out of it. And there we have something that somebody needs, and if we don't step into our purpose, we're not going to give it to them, and we do a disservice not only to them but to ourselves.
yeah,
And
I
so,
totally
yeah,
agree.
your work is so important. And I think also, um, giving people permission to say, you know what, you've worked at that job or you've done that, whatever it is, for 20, 30 years, but it's okay to change. You don't have to keep on that path. Um, we've come out of this society that, you go to college and you work at a job for, 40 years and you retire and die. Like, who wants to do that? That
Hmm.
does not sound fun or adventurous. And it's good for some people, but most of us are looking for more. And that's okay. And I think we're really coming out of that, right? Like, we're not happy with the status quo. We want something more. We just don't know how to do it sometimes. And that's where I think people like you come in and help us, say, you know what can I be doing better here? Where can I really use my gifts and my talents to serve others? And also, what you said, serving others, like there isn't a place you don't serve others. And I think that's important to say, because we think, oh, service is like this huge sacrifice, and we're going to live, like Mother Teresa or something. That's not what it looks like all the time. That is a service, but so is what you do. You're being of service to people so that they can step into their purpose and fulfill their service to somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a ripple effect. And I think once we can be that example to other people, then that just helps make the world more beautiful.
Mm,
Um, and I think I do this work because I've been in these different situations, really like being in a job that isn't fulfilling. I'm not willing to sit in that for very long before I'm trying to figure out the next thing. And that could be just my attitude towards the job, right? So if people are thinking, oh, I need to leave this space, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just working on your mindset and figuring out how you can see it differently. Sometimes it is looking for a new environment for you to fully show up and be seen for who and how you serve others, So that might be looking for a new company. And it might be completely looking for a new career and then
mhm.
helping you transition to that because it does take time, right, to figure out what that is.
Right.
And having those kind of touchstones to know how to do that is helpful because it can feel overwhelming if you've never done it before. I've kind of done all three. I've moved, to 3 different countries. I've lived in many different states. Um, changing careers later in life has been a thing. And so that's where I feel like I can really support people because I've
You've
walked a
been through it.
similar road. Yeah.
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 You've been through it, you've been there, done that, and that says a lot though, because you've had that experience, you know what people are going through emotionally, and you can relate to that and help them walk through that. And I love that. And so where can people get in touch with you to find out more about you? They're like, oh my gosh, I need to find my purpose. I need to just get this done. Where can they find you?
Yeah. So I like to hang out on Instagram at A Creative Purpose. And I also have a podcast called A Creative Purpose with Naomi that I just really like to talk to people that are living the creative life and making choices to do that and what that looks like. Because many people, the road is not straight,
Mhm.
but it is a beautiful journey. So,
Yeah. Is the road straight for anyone?
no, no, we want it to be, right? I think that's the
Yeah.
idea we have in our head. But once we lean into that adventure and knowing, like, oh, let's see where this is going to take me and how am I going to grow from that, I think that's the attitude I want to cultivate
Yeah.
in people. Yeah.
Hey, it sounds a lot more fun uh, to
Yeah.
kind of see what's going to happen and take those risks. And even when they're scary, taking the risk and moving forward and finding out what's on the other side.
Hmm.
So thank you, Naomi, so much for coming and sharing with us. This has been a great conversation. Thank you, everyone, for listening and being here. Again, my name is Dawnette Palmore, and I am on a mission to help you empower you to give your money more purpose so you can live your purpose. Thank you for listening to Your Money on Purpose podcast. If you got value out of this episode, I would be forever grateful if you would leave a review and then hit that subscribe button wherever you listen to your podcast so that you never miss an episode. Thank you again for being here, and until next time, remember, money is just a tool that we get to use to live out our purpose.